because it's been a year since Stranger Things: The First Shadow has been on Broadway, and they changed the cast now,
Yeah, one of my
and they
students.
announced a new cast, and I was like, I wish I was
When
there.
I went to that callback for the audition, I was in the room, just in the waiting room for a long time, and I looked around me and I was like, "These are actual children here." Like they showed up to the audition with their parents,
Wow.
and here I am, a full adult, and
Yeah.
in my later 20s when I auditioned for it and stuff like that, and it's just like, I was like, I I may look young, but compared to actual kids auditioning for the other roles, like my sister role or like my friends, it would just look kind of crazy for me to be next to them, I think. So I think that's
Yeah. Did you
difficult.
at least shave for the audition?
Yeah, of course, I look young. I'll pull up the picture. I look really young. It's just
No. Yeah.
you can tell the energy. Like even because when I first graduated AMDA, I was doing so many high school roles. Like you saw from Suits. I was a high school
Yeah.
that. But the older I've gotten, it's not necessarily more about the looks. It's more about like my vibe. I
Mm.
have a really hard time. I know I'm an actor. That's my job to act. But I have a really hard time feeling young, and acting super young because I've experienced a lot of hardships in life of going
Mm.
through adult life, and I just think my maturity's at a different pace now. That those are just not roles that I believe myself to be in anymore. I don't believe that I fit. I believe
Mm.
like young 20s, like college, but I
But not a
just
high school student. Yeah.
no, I'm not a high school student. Like
Or
you know,
whatever that role was, middle school, I think. Yeah. No.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so, but it was definitely a shock looking around the room and being like, wow, I came here by myself. I flew across the country by myself.
Wow. Yeah.
I flew across the country by myself, and these people had to come here with their parents and all that, and which is good for them. They have someone who was supportive enough to bring them, but like, it
But
was
they
just a
probably live
shock.
around the area, right? Like they weren't. They didn't fly across the country. Who
Yeah,
knows,
some
actually?
yeah, some of the, I think there was one kid I met from that flew up from Florida, but it's
Oh.
just like they came out there with their parents, and,
Hmm.
and their
And
parents
he
got them
probably
to work.
didn't have the, how do you say, like the hours, like so many time difference, so he was better rested than you, so he excelled
Yeah,
better in the audition. I think
exactly.
I
So
think yeah.
it was crazy, and I just seeing that I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get cast in something that is looking around who's also because
Hmm.
that's the one thing. I could be the best actor in the world, but if the cast doesn't, if they're also looking at more people of the cast and I don't fit in that mold, they're gonna be like, oh, they're a great actor, but we have to find someone that actually fits the chemistry of everyone else. And that's the tricky part about this
Right.
business. I might be really, really good for a role, but if it doesn't fit with the rest of the vibe of the rest of the cast, you know what I mean? So it's
And
a very interesting business.
yeah, I wanna say like because that role is the young version of the Sean Austin's character.
Yeah.
The guy they picked for the second year, he doesn't look like Sean Austin. We
He
look
played.
more than like Sean Austin than this new kid.
Yeah,
Let me
what's
look
funny?
him up.
They actually picked a lot of Latinos for that role. Have you realized
Yeah,
that?
exactly, and that's what I was like why?
Like, that's not the character from the TV show at all. He's pretty
Exactly, yeah,
but I guess creative liberties or whatever it may be. It's a weird
yeah, but every other character looks like actor looks exactly like their adult version, kind of.
yeah, yeah, and
I don't know. Maybe I'm still haven't processed the rejection about that. How do you process rejection? Do you have any tips?
you know I've been doing this. It's gonna be 9 years. I've been professionally auditioning this
Hmm.
June, and which is it's crazy to think how fast it's gone. And the one thing I've had in mind is this: I do an audition and I immediately try to forget about it. I don't even think about it. I just let it go because two things happen when I do that. Um, if I hear news back that I'm like I get a call back or I got pinned for the role or they want to offer me the role, it's a nice surprise. It's like, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. But if I don't, I forgot about it. I just
Right.
I just I just quickly move on. I don't wait for no more emails. I don't want to know. Sometimes I don't even. I've actually talked to my reps before. I'm like, I don't even want to know if I got pinned, because it got to a point where. Do you know what pin means? I told you that, right?
Yeah, you told us about that actually. You were the
Yeah.
one who taught me about it.
So if I could teach it, I'll be a teacher on your podcast real quick.
Okay, amazing.
So, for those who don't know what a pin is in acting, there was a time back in the day. I never witnessed this, but there was a time back in the day before everything was so digital. People used to bring in their hard copy headshots, their pictures and resumes to auditions. And what they would do is, if they're trying to pick who is going to be the cast, they would have a top two or top three for each role, and they would literally pin the picture on like a cork board that they would look at, and they'd be like, "How does this person look next to that person?" and that kind of stuff. But you'd only get up on that board if you're one of like the top two or three of the character, one of the top choices. So when I graduated, I actually didn't know that. I was like, "What does this mean?" One time, an agent emailed me saying, "Hey, you're on a veil." And a veil is the same concept of pin except for commercials. I was like, "Yeah, I'm a veil. I'm available." Like,
Yeah.
But so there got to a weird point in my career where it's a blessing, but also a little bit of a curse sometimes, where I got pinned a lot, where people were like, you're one of the top choices, but then I wouldn't even get it. Or sometimes I would get pinned, and it'd be like off of my first audition, my self tape, and I'd be like, oh, they liked me that much for my first audition. Great, can't wait to hear more. And I wouldn't even get a call back. I wouldn't get like a chemistry read. I wouldn't get a director session. I wouldn't even get a second appointment. And they would just go ahead and cast someone else. And I'm like, why did you even make me one of your top two or three choices if you didn't want to see me again? And a lot of it became to the factor of like, maybe those people had more experience or a little more famous. Like one time I auditioned for like this um, this George Clooney film, and I got pinned off of my initial self tape. No callback, nothing. The person that I'm casting is someone who like he's on the Penguin, or is that what's called the show? Yeah, the Penguin, right? The Batman spin-off show.
Hmm.
He's one of the main characters in the Penguin. He was a main character in a Marvel TV show. So like that the actor that they cast had already been so well known, and I wasn't as well known. So I think it's almost like they pinned me as someone who wasn't well known in the industry, and if maybe that person was busy, they would have given me a callback or cast me. But that person wasn't busy. They cast it to the person who's well known. I don't know. It's a very interesting business, and it got to a point where I got so frustrated hearing the term "you're pinned, you're pinned, you're pinned, you're one of the top choices. Casting really likes you," and then I wouldn't get a call back. Then I wouldn't get another email after that, you know, and I got exhausted of hearing you're pinned, even though it's like the cast director likes you. But in my head, I was like, okay, they don't like me enough. you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So, so it got to a point where I was
I'm not
like,
enough.
yeah, you
Mm.
do start thinking that way,
Yeah.
and when I got those emails, especially even till now, whenever I get an email that says you're pinned, I'm like, cool, but I don't take it to heart. I don't get excited about it. In fact, I've made two major rules for myself. The first one is don't celebrate the paycheck until you're on set, and don't
Mm.
celebrate the press until you've seen it posted by other people. I was on the show Hacks, which is like a Emmy-winning, Golden Globe-winning TV show right now, and I filmed in season one, and unfortunately they had to cut my scene. Luckily, I didn't post telling people, "Hey, everybody,
Right.
watch this." But funny enough, another friend of mine I do know posted about it. They're like, "I'm gonna be on this show, guys. I filmed an episode," and then boom, unfortunately, they were cut, and they didn't. And they've already told everyone. They've already celebrated that they're gonna be on the show, and that was a major like thing I learned was don't celebrate the press unless you've seen the episode and you know you're in it, or until like
Major L.
Yeah, or like deadline. Yeah, major L, exactly. That's a major L. But so that's my rule. I don't celebrate the paycheck, and because I've signed contracts, like there have been times I've signed full-on contracts that you're like, you're cast. We're gonna be filming in a few weeks. Here are the dates. Sign the contract. You're cast, and they even posted me on the IMDb and everything. And then that movie, things happened, and it went to Hollywood Graveyard, and it never ended up coming up. That movie that was going to be one of the lead roles for, and I signed the contract and everything, and I knew how much I was going to be making. Never got the paycheck, never got to film it. If I had been posting about it like crazy, like I'm going to be making this money, I'm going to be in this movie, and then that movie just ended up not working out and then falling short, then I would have looked kind of dumb in front of everyone. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
that's why I don't celebrate until I'm on set for the money, and I don't even like tell everyone like I'm in this movie, guys. Like
Yeah.
so. Those are kind of my rules, and then also, like I mentioned before about rejection. I just kind of like look at the end of the day. You gotta be yourself, and you gotta be happy in your own life, and that's already a struggle. Trying to be
Mm.
happy in life. People fight anxiety, people fight depression all the time, and I've definitely had my battles against that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've realized like I need to have goals for my personal life and not make my film life my only life. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I think that's why those are the few things I kind of gravitate towards when it comes to dealing with rejection or not finding success all the time. You know what I mean?
It's so tough though.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like it's better easier said than done.
Absolutely. And that's why it actually is a fight. It's really a
Yeah.
fight. Um, I was not in the best headspace uh, in the end of last year, November, December. I was kind of really down. Even a lot of January. It's very recent, and I think it's starting to show. I'm not even gonna lie. I think it showed a little bit in my teaching. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I gave my best. I tried, but I was going through a lot. And recently in the past semester, and when it came to my own self worth. And this year, I'm forcing myself to love myself. I have to. So like I've made like a bunch of goals, like every month I'm reading a book. Every month I'm making a goal to do an event. Like in January I went to a hockey event. I'm going to Vegas pretty soon. Like I'm making
Oh
sure
wow.
I can there's like I'm just trying to do like even weird things like that I've never experienced or tried. Apparently in Los Angeles you can go watch horse races for like $20. Sure,
Oh
I'll go.
wow.
I've never
And you
done it.
bet on it?
You can bet on it too. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, that sounds. It's not something that's like me. That's not something I do. But I think I want to experience new experiences. I want to try, doing new things, and just maybe there's some things I do like that I didn't know I liked. You know what I mean? So, I think the best way to get out of things is literally forcing yourself, challenging yourself to do something, goals of some sort. You know what I mean? So that's currently what I'm doing. Because I have no control of the business right now. It's a really weird place, the business. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna wait for auditions. If they come, great. I'm gonna do my best at them. But I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna have a
Mm.
good time doing it too.
'Cause you also have a lot that you can like you have teaching first of all. You have it's not like you have acting and just going out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That would be.
Right.
I got a lot of things I'm trying to do, and if it was just
And if you
acting,
had free time, if you were bored, you have the streaming thing.
if yeah, exactly. If I wanted to do that for sure, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why I think it's also important to have the right people around you, your family, your friends, that kind of stuff. So that's what I've been working on and focusing on more, because acting will
You,
come when it
mm.
comes. You can't force it.